Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So today we're going to talk to you about the frets on your guitar and buzzing issues. This is my Cort X2LH, so left-handed, and you'll notice my action sits probably a little high, but when you press on the last fret and down on the first fret, you have to have a bit of a bow. Let me see if I can get this in the camera right. You have to have a little teeny bit of an upward bow in your neck. You don't want your neck to be completely straight and flat across. The only time that happens is when you're doing a fret leveling job. But otherwise, under normal playability, you want to have just a slight bitness. Now, you got to measure the distance between your string and the top of your fret bar or wire and set it up according to your factory specs initially. Now, a lot of guys do like a much higher action too, and that's fine. But initially, at least set it up and then go through the neck and go through each string one fret at a time and check for buzz all the way to the end, every string. Now, every time I go and I look at buying a new guitar, the first thing I do is I go through and see if it was even set up at all, and I check for buzzing strings, and where are they buzzing, because this may be a high fret, problem, or, that could be going on, and you don't know until you check things out. So, check the neck, look at the heights of the frets, look for any that may be high. That might be an indication you need to dress a fret or two. But don't always assume you gotta dress the frets, okay? This isn't always where the buzzing's coming from. Even down on here on a lot of guitars, it could be just a simple tweaking of your saddle height adjustment, okay, where you need to bring the height up just a little bit on one or two or maybe even three strings, who knows, right? That's why you need to make sure that your string height for every string is set according to factory specs for that guitar first. Set the neck up where it's supposed to be, okay, and you'll know that by the amount of relief you need to put in the neck, and you'll measure the frets all the way down and make sure that they're sitting where they should. Okay, now there is that one, magical spot that a lot of guys just go with, one or two spots with. That's fine. I like to go through the whole neck myself and every single string. Now, on this guitar, I had to just, adjust the height of the saddles a little bit, because I had a few buzzers. Once that happened, and I adjusted the relief on the neck, so it had just the slightest bit of a bow in it, okay, for an upward bow, and I measured and checked. Everything was fine. No more buzz. Voila. Don't need to adjust any frets. You could have a bad nut, from the factory, where a string is sitting too low. And sometimes you can compensate for that down in here without having to worry about replacing your nut. But sometimes you actually do got to replace that nut. Or you can use the paper trick if you want something that looks ugly. By all means, it's your guitar. Okay? I don't like ugly, so I don't put paper under my strings. Okay? I also don't do the baking soda and crazy glue trick either that I've seen on YouTube, because that is actually something that a lot of pros, more have than less, have said that that's really not a good thing to do. Alright? So I don't bother with that. But I've never had a bad nut yet either, so I'm not too concerned. But I've also never had to re-level the frets on any of my guitars except for one, and that was a piece of junk Sears Jobby classical nylon string guitar that was converted from right-handed to left-handed when I was a kid, and that needed the frets dressed. And that was actually pretty snaky to do because they were brass frets. That's what you get when you buy from Sears. You get junk. But anyways, this thing plays awesome. Now, my Fender Stratocaster that I recently picked up, let me just go grab it for a quick sec here. Now, it has an extremely low action, even right from the initial setup. And I had a couple of buzzers. So how did I fix that problem? All I had to do was do a quarter turn on the neck to back off the pressure to bring a little bit of a bow up, I recheck. I am still like just barely missing the top of my frets, and I got rid of the buzz. I didn't even have to touch my saddle, which is great, you know, but sometimes you need to. But that's all it needed. The neck was just sitting way too straight on this thing. So, little tiny bit of relief, voila, problem solved. So don't blame your frets being the problem right away. Do your setup, make sure it's set right, make sure it's set according to factory specs, go through it all, and then if you still have some fret issues, then start looking at the heights of the frets a little more serious. Maybe you just got a small little problem, maybe in the part of a fret, and you can just carefully take that off with maybe some, 1,000, 2,000 grit sandpaper just in that one area. And there's actually a special tool you can buy that goes over top to protect your fretboard when you're using the ultra fine grit paper to get rid of that little burr, because that's all it could be too. It's not the whole fret that has to be filed or leveled down. It's just that one little spot that could be just a defect in that fret. Anything is possible. But I see on YouTube so many people, they immediately jump to, oh, I need to dress my frets, or I gotta do everything to this thing is what I've been told, or whatever. No, that's not the case. And if you learn to do this stuff yourself, which is really simple and easy to do, if you've got a ruler or even a digital caliper, and you know how to use either one of those, you can also get the string height gauges tools. They're really super cheap to buy. You're going to save yourself over the course of your time as a player hundreds if not thousands of dollars. Why pay somebody to set up your guitar for you when you can do it yourself? Now, fret replacement, fret leveling, that I would probably leave to somebody who's a pro, unless you've got the courage to do it. It is kind of a one-shot deal. If you take off too much meat, you're going to screw things up bad. So I'd probably say, if you're afraid of that, take that to a pro whenever that needs to be done. Okay? And fret replacement is usually when you've dented the frets way too much and they're buzzing out of control, and there is no fix other than new frets. But what you pay for the guitar is going to determine whether or not it's worth doing frets. Now, every store has different rates in different countries too. Like here where I am in Canada, average store cost, you're looking at $20 per fret to be replaced. Now, on a $300 guitar, no, I'm not going to replace any of the frets unless I do it myself, because I can get a bag of frets for like $8 and do the whole thing myself. And there's tons of videos even I've watched on how to actually replace my frets and do it really properly, and you don't need major special tools to do this with either, which is also very nice, but unless the guitar is worth, we'll say, $700 and up, do it yourself. Anything that's $700 and over, get it done by a professional, and then you're definitely know your baby is in good hands, and you're good to go. But if it's much cheaper, than $700 guitar, I would definitely suggest that if you want to keep the guitar, do the fret job yourself. Because every fret, count up your frets. This guitar here, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 frets times $20 a pop. Do the math. Ching! And this guitar is under $400 brand new. I'll do it myself. Thank you very much. Okay? Anyways, just a little bit of tips for you on, to make sure your guitar is playing right. And, don't always blame those frets. They're not always the problem. Sometimes it's just a little tweak of 1 or 2 or 3 saddles just to adjust the heights and maybe some neck relief. Maybe you got to flatten it out. Maybe you got to burn it up. Who knows? But check those things over first, nice and thorough, and continue on. Happy guitar playing. Thanks for watching.